So you've probably heard about intermittent fasting, unless of course you're living under a rock, right? Everybody has heard of intermittent fasting, but what about an intermittent fasting type known as 5-2? And could it be right for you? Stay tuned to find out. Hi, and welcome to Nature's Path to Wellness. My name is Wendy, and I am a natural nutrition clinical practitioner. And today I'm going to be wearing a necklace, actually, that is really special. My daughter has made this for me. She has been making some necklaces recently, some of them made with clay and painting them. And so I'm going to be sharing and wearing some of those over the coming weeks. So today we're going to be talking about an intermittent fasting style or method known as 5-2. Intermittent fasting, of course, has been on the radar for years, and a lot of people go and try intermittent fasting as it relates to trying to lose weight, maybe perhaps get control of insulin resistance, or even in helping them reverse type 2 diabetes. But if you're struggling in these areas, you'll want to actually stick around and find out about this different type of intermittent fasting known as 5-2. So 5-2 intermittent fasting is a type of fasting where you eat normally for 5 days and 2 days you fast. And so, of course, I'm going to talk a little bit about what normally means, because this doesn't just mean that for 5 days we go and eat whatever the heck we want and then fast, which is, you might think of eating nothing for 2 days. But for 2 days, the type of fasting is actually not what we would normally think of, where you would just have liquids for those days. A lot of people will go on a fast for 2 or 3 days, or sometimes longer, and they'll just do a water-only fast. In this type of 5-2 intermittent fasting, you're actually doing, again, the 5 days of normal eating, and then 2 days where you do caloric restriction. So there was recently a study done about this 5-2 type of intermittent fasting, and it was a randomized control type study where there was 326 participants, and they were overweight and had type 2 diabetes, and they were split into 3 groups for a period of 12 weeks. One of the control groups was the diet intervention group, and they were provided foods that they were to eat on the 2 days. And they actually saw a 75% improvement over the period, like as they were being measured at the end of this study, of 75% improvement in their blood glucose levels. There was a control group number 2, which was the exercise intervention group, and they were guided by professional trainers. They did fairly intense cardio workouts on a daily basis for this 12-week period, and overall, at the end of the study, they saw a 30% improvement in their blood glucose levels. And there was the control group number 3, which was the lifestyle education. So people were told what they should be doing in order to help them manage their blood glucose levels and, to lose weight. So they were given diet education, and, they were educated on how exercise can help. And overall, they experienced a 25% improvement in their blood glucose levels and whatnot at the end of the study. So 20%, or about 1 in 5 of those who did diet intervention, so that was the first group that we mentioned, by 12 weeks had actually reversed type 2 diabetes. And that's pretty good. I think that's pretty astounding to think that after 12 weeks, they were able to reverse type 2 diabetes. And of course, the threshold for reversing type 2 diabetes is to not be on any diabetes medications and to have an A1C of 5.6 or less at the end of this study that they did. And roughly 10% of the group, the exercise group, which was one of the control groups, were able to reverse type 2 diabetes. And the average weight loss of those in the diet group lost about 5 pounds or 2.5 kilograms over the course of 12 weeks. So the takeaway from this study that is pretty interesting is that there was no real loss because of, or loss of weight, or even benefit as it relates to the blood sugar, glucose control management, that type of thing from the exercise group. So it didn't contribute to significant weight loss, but there, of course, is health benefits in having exercise, and those health benefits are immeasurable. Of course, the combination of diet improvement and exercise are obviously going to have the best long-term effects for anybody who is trying to manage their weight and, of course, reverse type 2 diabetes. And something else that was really important to mention about this is the group that actually did the 5-2 intermittent fasting. They were actually able to significantly reduce liver fat over this 12-week period. And so non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, of course, is something that most people who are obese or who have insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes experience. And so for the 5-2 fasting regime, that was actually super effective on overall liver fat and the reduction in that. So that's super incredible to report. And of course, the appeal of this type of diet or intermittent fasting is the flexibility that it offers. So it's really hard on a day-to-day basis for most people, I think, to sort of zone in and say, okay, I've got to count my calories. And again, counting calories isn't something that I necessarily support. I think it's far better to look at the overall focus on what your day-to-day diet is. But if you can choose to take 2 days of the week in terms of this type of intermittent fasting and say, well, the other 5 days of the week, I'm going to eat a normal, healthy diet. Okay, so this is important. This doesn't mean that for 5 days you eat whatever the heck you want, and then for 2 days we buckle down. It means that for 5 days of the week that you've got to be eating consistently healthy. So lots of whole foods and plant-based foods and whole grains and that type of thing. And then for 2 days out of the week, so you could pick Tuesday and Thursday if you want, or Wednesday and Thursday, or Saturday and Sunday, whatever days are going to work for you. It doesn't matter. You can pick those days and you're going to have a caloric restriction on those 2 days. It doesn't mean you can't eat and you're reduced only to having liquids. It's just that your calories are going to be restricted on those 2 days. And so for a caloric restriction, in terms of doing a 5-2, what it would look like is if we're talking about, let's say, an average diet of, or an average intake for the average person of 2,000 calories, then on your restricted days or your fasting days, you're going to be reducing your caloric intake to about 500 calories. It would obviously depend on what your average or what your caloric intake should be. Again, some people might be more in the 1,800 range, and some people might be up to 2,200 or more. It depends on your energy expenditure through the day, what you're doing. But for the average person, we're going to use the figure of 2,000 calories, and then the restricted or fasting days to be 500 calories. And so it goes without saying that if you're going to be doing a 5-2 intermittent fasting or other type of fasting or whatever you're doing in your daily routine, you should be always consuming a diet that is rich in fiber and non-processed foods with little to no animal products and no refined carbohydrates such as breads and pasta that are not a whole grain pasta. Of course, there's lots of types of pastas out there, and I've been experimenting with a lot of them lately. There's like a black bean pasta, and there's quinoa pasta, and there's all these different types of pasta. So it doesn't mean that we just have to have like this the regular highly processed white flour type of pasta. So we don't need to be consuming that anymore, and we can still enjoy pasta, which is really great because I actually really love pasta. And any of your fats should probably be coming from nutrient-dense foods such as avocados and nuts and seeds, and any oils should be non-seed oils. They're highly processed, and you should be staying away from vegetable oils such as canola oil. Of course, I think that goes without saying. Stick to something for your salad, for example, like a cold-pressed organic olive oil, which is really good for salads, but not so good for cooking because it has a really low smoke point. And it's really important to note that if you are going to be trying this 5-2 fasting method, I think it's pretty exciting. I think it's a really interesting way to try and do fasting. Again, I've always found, I want to say that I like to do fasts and whatnot, but I honestly don't. I would rather eat healthy on the overall and maintain. I was able to reverse type 2 diabetes by going on a whole food plant-based diet. And I find that that's the best diet for me. And I maintain that on a regular basis. Once in a while, I will do a water only fast, but I do really find them very difficult. And I think they are for the majority of people. So trying something like this 5-2 fast, where it's just a caloric restriction on a couple of days, it's going to be something I'd like to try and incorporate more into my routine, to be honest with you. And the flexibility that it offers, I think, will make it super manageable and maybe even enjoyable for some people. So, but the important thing to mention is that if you are taking medication, blood glucose lowering medication, and you want to try something like this 5-2 or any other type of intermittent fasting or any fasting period, you'll want to really carefully manage your medications. And it may be that you'll want to share with your doctor or your other healthcare providers that you are looking at doing some intermittent fasting, and then try and work together with them to see what is going to be appropriate in terms of what medications you consume, because you do not want to end up in a situation of having hypoglycemia. So anyways, I'd be curious to know if you do give this method of intermittent fasting a try, and let me know how it goes in the comments below. I'd be interested to hear. And if this video has been helpful for you, be sure to share it with more people and to give it a like. It does help it to get out to more people who may be interested in hearing about this information. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, do consider subscribing for more health and nutrition information. And I do look forward to seeing you here again next time at Nature's Path to Wellness, where your journey to lifelong health begins. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.